Podcast is more special than the Patriots.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Around the NFL podcast presented by the United States Marine Corps. It's the Christmas special. My name is Dan Hansis, coming to you from a virtual room filled with heroes in pretty sweaters. Greg Rosenthal, Mark Sessler, Colleen Wolfe. What is up, gang?
I like Mark's situation, how he has lights that are flickering around him. That is something else.
Well, when I think of the Marines and, what they're doing and what they're out there protecting, they're probably looking at this and saying, the mission is clear. We feel good about what we're doing for the states and for these individuals on the screen right now.
Absolutely.
Hey, they're paying that money. Hey, we're for people listening on the podcast, we've all got these like ugly team sweaters on. You can get
Speak for yourself.
Don't.
Mark's got pajamas, but yeah, Colleen came with just like a nice looking sweater. So that's kind of
Why is the carpet all wet, Todd?
I don't know,
Margo. Greg, you did it again. We've talked about this. You tend to speak for the group when you say things like everyone's wearing ugly sweaters. I tend to think that
they're literally branded ugly sweaters, so people know what I'm talking about. You go to the ugly sweater section at NFL. That's where yours was purchased from.
I don't believe it.
Yours is
I think it's a
extremely
beautiful, gorgeous sweater. Yes, it's the Christmas special, and we have a great episode filled with fun to get to. Special guests and holiday-themed segments. And did I mention special guests? Because we have special guests. It's going to be quite a show. But we do have some business to start with, Connie Fox. It is the end of the Week 15 slate. So let's start today's show by digging in on Monday Night Football. All right, here's the road to victory presented by the United States Marine Corps. And yes, the Pittsburgh Steelers, again, fall short in really an ugly way. 27-17, the final. Bengals over Steelers, the third straight loss for Pittsburgh after an 11-0 start to the season. And Colleen, I don't know about you, but this feels like something more than a bump in the road for Pittsburgh. It feels like something closer to an existential crisis, and they don't have a lot of time to get this thing figured out.
Well, because it's 3 straight weeks now that they've lost, but this latest one, they kind of reminded me of myself on Mondays, like foggy, a little sluggish, low energy, like they probably looked in the mirror and didn't recognize themselves, much like I do. I mean, I don't even know what we watched. And I would love to say that I didn't see that coming, but this is like so on brand for the Steelers, even at this level. I mean, they've really taken it up a notch for the holiday season. But for Ryan Finley and Giovanni Bernard to lead this team to a win over the Steelers, who could have wrapped up the division, I mean, what a shock.
It was shocking. And yet, like, the way the Steelers offense is going, no one would have saw how it happened on Monday night. But the flashback I had was to the 2019 Steelers, how we always kept saying, like, man, this defense, they must be tired. They must be so sick of carrying Mason Rudolph on their back. If they just had an average offense, they'd be great. And then here we are in a big-time game, Monday Night Football, and the Steelers offense had 2 yards in their first 5 possessions. They had 40 yards in 8 possessions in the first half. That's an entire game's worth. I mean, that was a cry for help. 2 first downs, 3 turnovers. Like, the defense did everything that they needed to do. I don't need to hear anything about the Steelers defense after this game, but they have to be demoralized looking at the other side of the ball and thinking, like, these guys aren't going to figure it out, because there's no sign that they're going to figure it out right now.
I can't think of too many Steelers teams characteristically that fade like this. I went back and looked, and there were 1 or 2 seasons under Tomlin where they started hot and finished not great because they just weren't great teams. This team was 11-0, and there were reports coming out that they feel mentally exhausted. It's just it's been an unusual year for everyone, but the Steelers, like, I would trust them just as a longtime watcher of the AFC North and the old AFC Central to bounce back from 1 or 2 of these losses. But last night's the game that I almost thought, I'll just game pass this in the morning because it's going to be, the 35-10 bounce back game for Big Ben in this offense and the run game and everything else. And I'm watching Big Ben fall apart before my eyes. And, like, there's these reports he wants to come back and play next year, and that's all possible. I mean, I'm not worried about next year, but he does not look to me like a functional leader of this offense right now. I mean, they're hard to watch, and the deep pass has been eliminated. I mean, the Bengals knew coming in what to do with them defensively. That's got to be a huge concern with the stacked AFC lineup heading into the postseason.
Everybody knows what to do with the Steelers now, and it's on that offense to adjust. But now there is this very real question to ask whether they have the guy behind center that can adjust, whether their game plan was specific to what age 38 Ben Roethlisberger is, or age 39, whatever he is. And it was strange watching it because there seemed to be almost like a helplessness to the offense. It reminded me actually of some of these Carson Wentz games before he got benched by the Eagles, where they would keep on coming back on the field, and then they would go 3 and out, and then they come off the field, they get the ball back, and you're like, okay, maybe things get figured out, Colleen, but it never happened. So now they're in a Wentzian place, but there's no Jalen Hurts to put in the lineup.
Nobody wants to be in that place. It's not a great place to be in. I mean, when those situations, you just, like, expect a 3 and out every time they go out on offense. And I'm wondering too, because I feel like all I've been hearing about today and last night was Juju Smith-Schuster doing his TikTok dances. I mean, are you guys triggered about this? Because I feel like that's the least of their problems right now, right?
Well, I would say I feel like I'm not allowed to be triggered. I was told
plenty of people are
like,
anti.
I know, but there's definitely, like, this other subset of people on Twitter that, like, don't shame him for being who he is. And it's like, I don't really care that much about it, but TikTok as a format, like, can we come up with some different dances? It's like the same. It's like 800 schoolgirls doing the same dance. Do I need Juju Smith-Schuster doing it? I don't know.
Can we calm down?
He's been doing it. He's been doing it the whole season.
It's some great disrespect to be dancing on a logo. You play the game all game on these logos, stomping on them, falling on them, sweating on them, bleeding on them. And now it's like sacred ground because it's the pregame warm-ups. Calm down.
It's like, yeah, and it's a lot of old players is like, worry about like playing like more than the brand, and like as if the time that they're spending going on TikTok is more than like the time all of these guys are using to like get women. Like no one's criticizing that. He's spending 5 minutes on TikTok. Give me a break. How about you criticize Ben Roethlisberger for like just being totally scrambled. It's crazy. You know what? You know what I was thinking watching last night is they miss Mike Munchak so much. They miss Todd Haley too, by the way, their old coordinator, because it's not just Roethlisberger. I mean, it's partly him, but they have no answers schematically of where to find the easy plays. And they thought maybe they would throw down the field last night. He was 1 for 14 throwing over 10 yards. So it's everything. The run blocking is so bad for that team.
Yeah, and then they have the Colts and the Browns coming up.
Yeah, I mean, look at the reason why Mark has electricity all around him right now is because the dude is plugged in. Sessler, I know it's a different year, and we talk about, what does it mean to actually win the division? Oh, Sessler wants it. He could taste it. The AFC North, after years of misery, you can go in and beat the Steelers to claim that division and put on the baseball caps and do all that fun stuff. I know you're excited about it, Mark. It's all in play now.
Well, I'm excited if they deserve it, if they earn it. And there's a chance they could by beating Pittsburgh. I mean, there are also scenarios out there that are madcap enough where Cleveland could lose that game, finish 11-5, and not be a playoff team. So, in terms of like waltzing around my house, and kissing babies and stuff, I'm not there yet. Let's see how this unfolds. I'm always expecting something dark and disastrous to occur to the Browns, but they're starting to make a believer out of me that they are not, we're not spending all week wondering about Browns players doing TikTok dances. That seems like something the Browns would normally get pulled into, but let Pittsburgh deal with that business.
And
I don't need it.
Let's give Cincinnati a little credit here because nobody thought they were going to compete in this game. And just like the Jets did against the Rams on Sunday, those guys were fired up. Those guys, they couldn't get enough of this idea that they were messing up the Steelers season. And it had been in such a dark place, obviously, this Cincinnati season ever since Joe Burrow blew out his knee. So to have this game at home with some fans in the stands, and a lot of those fans were Steelers fans, and send them out of the building with a scowl on their face. That is a nice little gift under the Christmas tree. I wish Chris Wessling was with us right now because he knows exactly what it's all about. Cincinnati has been tortured by Pittsburgh for years, just like the Browns, and now you get a chance to really stick it to them where it hurts when they weren't expecting it. Nice job by the Bengals and Ryan Finley.
Yeah, lost 10 straight. Finley felt like low on the list of reasons they won, but he did get a couple big rushing plays. And I think if Bengals fans really want to be positive, they do have some good young players. Like Hubbard and Lawson dominated that game against the Steelers tackles. I like those two pass rushers. Higgins and Boyd, who got hurt, Tyler Boyd got hurt early in the game, are kind of a reminder like receivers only matter so much. Because I feel like if Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins had like a great quarterback, like they could be Pro Bowl type players this year. That's how good they've been. So they got some young players. Nice. That's their Super Bowl. Didn't even mess up their draft pick. Like they're in a weird spot where they're just like stuck at 3. It's perfect.
There you go.
I was waiting to see Zach Taylor register a few notable wins. They've beaten the Titans and they've now beaten the Steelers. I think it's an argument to keep the staff and have them all come back when you have Burrow. I mean, beating the Steelers in your own division when they've whipped up on you for a near decade, it matters. It matters a lot. And I think that what's that?
With a third string quarterback too, nonetheless.
It's amazing.
Like, yeah,
it might be
he's
too
got a
late.
big smile on his face. Ryan Finley, it's very nice.
Mike Brown's not paying Zach Taylor's contract for a couple years when he's not in the building. The Bengals owner is the last person to fire a coach early. I don't think Zach Taylor is in any trouble at all.
Yeah, your prediction, Mark, that Zach Taylor is coach of the year, that won't happen. But I think this more or less locks up that he's returning, and so good for him, good for the Bengals. And that was Road to Victory presented by the United States Marine Corps. I didn't mean to throw you under the bus there, Mark, not give you a chance to respond. But we'll be right back after this.
Well,
I can't believe that.
Welcome back. All right, let's move on. Again, it is the Around the NFL podcast Christmas special. And what kind of Christmas special would it be if we didn't talk about Santa, the big man who's on his way, and that list? He uses a list. You know, he checks it twice, blah, 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 to blah, blah, blah. You know the whole backstory. We thought it would be nice at this time of year to share our naughty or nice list, NFL style, as we look ahead to the final 2 weeks of the regular season and the playoffs. So let's go through it. Let's start positive. Let's go through some, let's say something nice. Colleen, get us going today. Okay,
so definitely on the nice list, Xavier Howard, the Dolphins cornerback. What a season he's been having. This Miami defense has been incredible all season long, but he is no doubt the star of it. Leads the league in interceptions. He had like a 5-game streak where he had at least one takeaway or one interception. Last week, he almost had the touchdown, but then it was called back. But this is a guy who's been in Miami on the Dolphins for 5 years. And imagine all Miami. That's exactly right. Imagine all of the stress and agony and disappointment and just like the depressing nature of that team before Brian Flores came in. And now the fact that not only have the Dolphins turned things around, but he is just having an insanely good career year. I actually talked to him this morning and I was asking him just like, that's coming up on Saturday. You guys should watch it on NFL Network. Raiders and Dolphins. It's going to be a
we
big
get
game.
it. You're successful, Colleen. Keep going.
Oh, you're hosting that coverage, right?
Greg is all over this. This is.
I'm just saying you should. If you're hosting it, I want to see you on the promos. That's all.
You'll see her because the station is on in your house, literally 24/7. So you will find a way to make that happen.
Greg has those glasses where there's actually a little TV screen inside the glasses, so you can just wear them all the time and leave the house. And he's plugged into NFL Network programming at all times. A little starstruck with Colleen.
I appreciate you, Greg. My question for Xavier Howard, though, is he's had so much success and he's having all of these picks in games. Why? I know that Dez already throws up the X, but his name is Xavier, which everybody just figured out 3 weeks ago. Has he ever considered an X situation? And he wants to stay away from it because of Dez, but I feel like he should wade into those waters and
You're
see
saying
how
he should
they
be
feel.
throwing up the X after all these impact plays. Interesting.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
I get that.
That's where I stand. He's on the nice list, though, for
all
sure.
Right. Yes. And like you said, he very nearly had a long fumble return for a touchdown on a Cam Newton fumble. So close, but still impact plays every week. Mark, how about you? You got something nice?
I do have something nice. And I've kind of zipped my lips about the Browns this whole season and kind of just wait and see how this journey ends. But how about Paul DePodesta? I will never forget the morning in our newsroom when the Browns hired Paul DePodesta away from Major League Baseball. And what was the audible response in our newsroom? Giggles, laughs. Oh, look at the Browns hiring a baseball man to come in and fix their team. Someone that was, if you're Paul DePodesta, you're thinking, I introduced sabermetrics. I went to Harvard. I am the source of Moneyball, an incredible book. I'm in the film. I'm played by Jonah Hill. These two people don't look anything like. I understand that it was a composite of DePodesta, but that's got to be a chip on the shoulder. He comes to Cleveland.
That was a great
performance
by Hill,
out of the gate.
Is this all about just the physical thing? Great portrayal.
No. I'm going to now talk about why he's on the nice list.
Okay.
All right. He's on the nice list because 2 years running, he pushed for the organization to hire Kevin Stefanski. They went in their own way, which they've done too many times, and hired Freddie Kitchens. He gets his way the second time, and bang, the Browns have someone that if he were a coach of another team, I'd be jealous. He also hired Andrew Berry at GM, age 33, the youngest by far in the league. The two of them get together. They work well together. There isn't some sort of infighting, ego-led battle that completely sinks the organization and creates a gigantic pit underneath Cleveland's, franchise organizational building. None of that's happening. I like the pair. Paul DePodesta is the reason this is happening. Would never have happened otherwise. That's how you build a team. And I think it's pretty cool that someone can do it in two sports. and he's basically gone unspoken about all season. So he's on my nice list, and I think he should be on a few other nice lists too.
Very well
He's a rock
said.
star.
Very well
Little
said.
D Podesta pop. He deserves it. You're right.
All right, Greg, how about you?
Very
All right.
compliant, everyone.
I'm putting.
You've said it all.
What are we gonna do? We're gonna knock this bean counter and really get on your bad side. We know you're not.
All right, carry on.
You're not kissing babies. You said this morning. I'm wondering where are these babies?
Bean
in your house?
counter.
What are you
So,
hiding?
it's a pandemic. Shouldn't be kissing babies anyway.
I'm gonna put a guy on my nice list that wasn't always on my nice list. Goes by the name of Alex Guerrero. Used to think maybe this guy's a little bit of a charlatan, a snake oil salesman, Tom Brady's trainer. They did take that government money during the pandemic for TB12. Not in love with that really, but when you look at the results that Tom Brady is doing right now. I mean, I'm watching Ben Roethlisberger. He can't throw the ball. I'm watching Drew Brees. He can't throw the ball. Tom Brady's not only the greatest 43-year-old quarterback in NFL history by leaps and bounds. In terms of like arm strength and top end throws, he's literally better right now than when they were winning Super Bowls in 2004, 2005. I don't even think it's a question. Patriots fans will agree with me. I'm not saying he's a better player. He's obviously not necessarily. But in just terms of top end arm strength and like wow throws, he has made more this season with the Bucs than he was making back in 01, 02, 03 with the Patriots. I don't know what it is. Maybe Brady deserves all the credit. Maybe it's TB12, but it's working. It's not about his body. That's not why he's struggling when he's having bad games. It's pretty amazing. Give Alex Guerrero some pop.
That's interesting.
Maybe there's something to the no nightshades. Like maybe we should all try not eating nightshades and see if that helps our performance.
Maybe
I've got that Tom Brady cookbook if you'd like to borrow it, Greg.
Right?
Not a lot of items in there that I would think would be your
working, right?
cup of tea.
We got to admit it's working.
Did you ever get that expensed, Mark, the cookbook?
No, and that's annoying to me.
I think it was $200, that thing. That goes toward like a college fund. Anyway.
I could have found other things to do with $200. I can promise you that.
I'm with you. Brady's arm strength and physically he looks exactly the same. I'm with you. You watch him week to week. He still misses a fair share of throws and open receivers. I think there is some still age-related decline going on there with him as a quarterback. But yeah, especially we watched Ben Roethlisberger try to throw those wounded ducks through the Cincinnati night last night. And it is striking that he is 4 or 5 years younger than Tom Brady, who still looks like a Greek god. So, all right, should we get in cahoots with Alex Guerrero? I mean, none of us are getting younger either. Maybe it's time. I don't know. Just something to think about.
I think you're right.
Yeah, not you, Colleen. You're forever.
I'm down.
The rest of us bros. All right. My nice list is obvious. Gardner Minshew. What a man. What a player! What an underdog! Who doesn't root for the underdog? Ever since he swaggered into Duval County with that mustache and the big dream to take over the league, the world fell in love with him. And I resisted it at first, but now I get it. Sometimes nice guys finish first, and that's why I'll be rooting for him the rest of this season. The NFL could use more Gardner Minshews, and so could the world.
What a turn from you.
Well, it's a
Wow.
completely
180.
artificial turn, but that's I get the position you're in. You're in a tough position, Dan.
What?
You're in a real tough position.
No, I understand. It's taken me a little time,
Yes.
but he's just so fun to watch, and the flopping hair and the headband, and the way that the people of Duval have really embraced him. I think it's time for me to do the same. Great guy, Gardner Minshew. What a talent!
I mean, nobody that has listened to this show for more than 3 episodes is buying a word of this.
What?
Only toddlers in the backseat of a car listening to this would buy this. This is
see you,
this is
Dan.
next level stuff from you, Dan.
How could you root against that man? All right, let's move.
Wait, Dan, I do have one fly might be in your ointment.
What?
I noticed Doug Marrone on Monday would not declare a starting quarterback for this week, which got me thinking: are they going to go Luton? Are they gonna like drag
no.
Quinn Gray or Cleo Lemon or David Garrard off the street and start?
They can't do that.
That would be some nefarious stuff.
That would be nefarious.
He was a little vague about it.
It's just funny. Like I said on Sunday.
Now that Dan's on board, they have to start him though. They have to go with Minshew.
I loved the Gardner Minshew's stat line. The 22 of 28 for 270, 2 touchdowns, 120 passer rating in a 40-14 loss. You can't put him on the bench with production like that. That's what Gardner Minshew does. All right. Naughty. Connie, give us something naughty.
All right. This, I feel like, is a no-brainer, but Doug Peterson is going straight on the naughty list. After watching Jalen Hurts these last 2 weeks, what took so long? Like, I understand the situation with Carson Wentz is very dicey and you're in a tough spot, Doug Peterson, but this whole, maybe not, obviously not. This whole entire season has been a giant garbage can. And then finally, there's like some life. And even in that loss to the Cardinals, it was so much fun to watch the Eagles again. It was the most exciting loss. And Jalen Hurts gives the team exactly what they need. I mean, he had 3 passing touchdowns. He was running well, had the rushing touchdown as well. He was sacked 6 times, but listen, like, he was fine. He was able to bounce back. And this is behind an offensive line that has been so hurt all season long. There's been a zillion combinations, and it just feels like this team plays way harder for Jalen Hurts, and they just like are interesting to watch. Like, I'm not banging my head against the wall. It's like taking out the garbage. Like, yeah, it's not. Before, every time I turned on the Eagles, it felt like such a chore, and now it's actually like something that I want to do, which is cool.
Sometimes I feel like it's been a bit of a La Reveal Magnifico around the Eagles fans the last couple of years. Like, you have one of the great Super Bowl runs of all time, and then a couple of years pass, and it's almost like the way you people talk, it's like that never happened. And you get to act like you're this long, tortured fan base that, like, how did we put up with Carson Wentz for that long? And Doug Peterson, what a mess. Oh, woe is us. Let's get on the radio and talk about how hard it is to be an Eagles fan.
You just compared Ben Roethlisberger to Carson Wentz and the Eagles offense about talking about how terrible the Steelers were last night. So yes, that's been an entire season of that.
I get it. I just liked it better when you were an eternal loser like my team.
To your point, Colleen, like you definitely want a coaching staff that figures things out and comes to the same conclusion that fans came to 6 weeks prior. The self-scouting doesn't seem to be the high point of Doug Peterson's and his staff. So I'm with you. I understand the frustration. And Dan, I don't know about the La Reveal Magnifico side of it. That feels
well. What does that say about Patriots fans who are grumbling about? I'm with you, Dan. I feel like they've done enough for me. I'm not allowed to complain about the Patriots for the rest of my life, but they're complaining this year like the last 20 years didn't happen. By the way, all could be forgiven, Colleen, if they win these 2 games, the Eagles, and get into the playoffs. I don't think it's quite as far-fetched as people believe.
Ooh.
Interesting. All right, okay. Greg, get naughty, because I know you like to.
I do. And where else to get naughty, than a strip club? I feel like someone's got to talk about Dwayne Haskins here. Look, it's a beautiful, in a normal world.
It's the dancer in the room.
After a loss, that's where you want to go with your girlfriend. I don't know if this was a birthday party. He was with his girlfriend and like a bunch of her friends at the strip club. And okay, but we're not in a normal world. We're in a pandemic, and you're in charge of an organization, a franchise right now where you are the only healthy quarterback. Kyle Allen's out for the year. Alex Smith has a calf injury, everything he's battled through, and you're putting your whole team at risk by going out to the strip club on a Sunday night after not playing too well either. So, man, that just put everyone in his organization in peril, not only because he could catch Rona, but that he isn't going to be available for this next game where they can possibly, clinch the division. We're uncertain how the Washington team is going to handle this. They've at least fined him. But either way, I know he's a young man, but you gotta have your in order a little better than this.
It's real bad for a lot of reasons. But
listen, it's a tough one. I get the argument too. Like, there's levels of ways to mess up. This is a franchise. that has had many things this season that are way worse than what Dwayne Haskins do. Some that came out today, some lawsuits against the organization. I get it. There's different levels, but it doesn't mean you're not letting down all of your teammates in your franchise by doing
It's a knucklehead move, and it's a guy that you've heard whispers about, and the reason why it seemed Ron Rivera was loath to even play a former first-round pick. And then something like this happens, and it's like, oh, this isn't so hard to connect the dots. Like, is this dude really in it to win it? And the type of guy you want. And Mark, and all guys in general have friends that they just can't get enough of that club, that exotic dancing.
Right.
And
I wouldn't put us in that category. But I mean,
I don't say that I'm like some type of saint, but it's never been my thing. But I have friends, just like everyone has friends, that cannot get enough of it. It's an addiction, and COVID-19. What it's done. I don't even know how this club is open wherever he went.
Right.
Is it an underground strip club? Tell me more. I'm interested intellectually.
This would be my counterpoint to Greg. Greg, I mean, we're in tough times, and I'm sure that club probably operating in an underground fashion to some degree. Think of how those workers, working very hard at the club have probably been struggling financially, not getting their normal allotment of greenbacks. How nice of the city's first string quarterback to waltz in and help these workers out, Greg.
That's a first round
That's a
pick.
fair point. I mean, you
big
can
flop.
definitely put it on the government in Virginia for allowing strip clubs to be open, because I don't think it was underground. But it's problematic all around. I mean, just imagine that conversation he had to have, Haskins, with Ron Rivera, who's battling cancer out here, and he's putting this whole team. Oh man.
It's
Ron
just
Rivera
such
does
an
not
immature
seem like a
thing to
strip club
do.
man, so.
It's just like people
club.
do. We see young people doing crazy, immature things all the time right now. He's hardly alone. It's just like you're letting down your teammates. That's the problem. You're on a team.
Greg, take me through this. In a modern day strip club right now, are the dancers wearing masks?
I don't know. I think so.
Take me through
the
it.
only reason why I think it's not closed, first of all, like, the South is pretty much open right now, and Virginia's the South. And they listed the place. It sounded like they were trying to get some pubs. So I don't think the place was open illegally.
All right.
Do some more homework on this, please, Greg.
Mark, get naughty.
Sorry.
Well, I want to circle back to when the pandemic started in our country, and we do follow the rules, and so we were allowed to each of us pick what would have been like sort of our all-star quarantine group, and I had to go look at the list, but mine included Alec Baldwin, Michael Irvin, close friend of yours, Colleen, Gianni from Love is Blind. That feels like that show was relevant 44 years ago at this point.
I forgot
but
about
don't
that.
don't forget that Gail Godot was also in the room. And I had to, I didn't like to do it, but I had to report that her behavior back at that time in late March, early April was poor. And she, as a group, we had to, teach her about discipline and things, and just maybe, mind your manners a little bit more.
Or something?
He tied her to the radiator.
Yes.
I believe there's a chaining.
We
to the
tied her
radiator.
to a part of the room that wouldn't move.
Yeah.
And I just want to report back that you would think that she would have found her way back onto the nice list, learning some lessons. It's not the case.
No, it's unfortunate.
It's not the case. Her behavior's not improved one iota. So she remains firmly attached to the naughty list. No further comments.
Why? I mean, I did.
She is not getting out of that basement.
A stinker. It's supposed to be bad sequel.
She didn't want to wear Christmas lights.
No, it's not that. It's not that frivolous. It's her basic inability to follow directions.
The best part of that video, beyond the terrible singing and the self-absorbedness of the celebrities involved, it showed up in a countdown list that I saw recently of worst songs of the year. It was number 1, the Imagine cover. And she opens it, Gail, before she throws it to the celebs with, okay, it's day 6 of quarantine. This is really tough. It's like, day 6!
Oh. Day 6.
Yeah.
Oh.
Lacks perspective.
We're like day 700
to go back
now.
to day
That's more
6.
sad for us, but all right. Finally, I got one more naughty. Fantasy football fans, let's get our stuff together, okay? Let's pull it together, because you guys got to chill. You got to chill. And Josh Jacobs shot a warning flare out a couple weeks ago when he did that thing on the gram where he posted that he wasn't playing even though he was active, and then he put up the middle finger emoji. Well, that's an undercurrent right now. I've been tracking this. It's part of a growing trend in the NFL. Players are fed up with you fantasy people on social media, trolling on them when they're hurt or otherwise struggling and not helping your fake team. Raheem Mostert's the latest guy. He just went to IR, by the way. For the millionth time, players don't care about your fantasy team, he tweeted. This is our real life. And Mostert, that's a good point. And I did something a couple weeks ago. You remember when Christian McCaffrey was coming back from the shoulder, and it was just in time for the fantasy playoffs, and then he tweaked the quad, and the report came out midweek, and absolutely devastating to McCaffrey fantasy owners who thought, okay, we survived this far without our number one pick, but we're going to get back this all-purpose stud, and he's going to win me the league. And it didn't work out that way. It looks like he's going to miss the entirety of the fantasy playoffs and maybe the rest of the real season. I just went and searched out Christian McCaffrey on Twitter and checked out the mentions, the vitriol, the absolute heinous garbage being sent his way, ill wishes, things about how I hope you never play again. I hope you never heal up. You're a bum. You don't try hard enough. Are you people kidding me? You idiots. Are you seriously thinking that these guys deserve that type of treatment when they are in a frustrating position as professionals of being injured or going through a struggle? Anyway, pull it together, fantasy football. I've played fantasy football since I was 14 years old. I've been frustrated with players, but never once did it ever occur to me to get on Twitter and at the player and tell him something negative or wish him ill will. Clowns, clean it up. You're naughty. Cole for you.
It always
Perfectly
seems so
said.
weird when the attacks turn personal too, like about fantasy, and then all of a sudden people are attacking like their family and their girlfriend, and like it gets so
Right, that happens,
personal
yeah.
for everyone involved, which is just so super weird to me.
It is a downside, I think, of money being on things. It's something the NFL, not to get too serious, but has to think about when, awkwardly embracing gambling, which, is happening right now. Owners own DFS teams. Everything is getting a little looser. But that's like a negative we've seen in a lot of other sports where in countries where gambling's legal is like the fans get out of control and you're going to lose all these players on social media. Like there's not going to be any interaction.
I mean, Greg, do you feel at all complicit for being someone that I think carried fantasy football from an innocent
Well, it was me.
game that children enjoyed
Yes.
Had to ask
to
the
an
question.
industry?
Good question.
You made an industry out of it, and it's all information and money and betting based, and that's creating so much of this vitriol, and it really sources back to your early career in football. Do you think
it
that
was
way?
pretty much me?
Like your
It was
sweater.
pretty much me and Matthew Berry that really got it going. Fantasy Greg ball, they used to call it. Well, I don't play fantasy anymore, so maybe that tells you your answer.
Well, that's you're washing you can't just wash your hands of it that simply.
Yeah, he's
does
already
George
done the
Bush
damage.
not track what's happening in Iraq anymore? We'll see. I'm sure that doesn't work out either. So.
That was the guilt. That's why Greg walked away from the game.
All right, we're just getting started in our holiday celebration.
Wait, I've got
around the
one more
NFL.
nice one for you. I'm
Oh, you do?
sneaking one in. It's one final nice. We're gonna give a nice little nice to Rhoda. That's right. It's Keisha's mom who gave us the best Christmas miracle ever. She had a flight out of town on Monday, and she changed it. She saw what was going on at the house. She realized it'd be a beautiful holidays, Christmas and New Year's, if Rhoda stayed in and helped Lakeisha and Wes out. And since they're our family, Rhoda is too, and we appreciate her extending that trip last minute. Christmas miracle for 2 more weeks. She'll be in town. It's great news.
Nice work.
I love Rhoda.
What a woman Rhoda is. And yes, whenever mom's around, that makes the holidays that much better. Yes, she's a queen. All right, just getting started on this Christmas special. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Around the NFL. Yes, and before we say goodbye and get ready to celebrate the holidays, we welcome in the great Ricky Hollywood, Erica Temposi, wearing with pride, and I respect her for it, her Patriots sweater, missing the playoffs for the third time in 20 years, which basically covers most of your lifespan. Erica, thank you for joining us on today's show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's such an honor. Just real quick before we go, I wanted to tell you guys who's on my naughty list this year, and it's the four of you.
Oh.
Because this show is a family-friendly football show, and you are talking about strip clubs. Mark can't say Gal Gadot's name correctly, calling her Gail. I mean, there's just been a total
Gambling.
Just you guys are just
Iraq.
off the rails.
Got into
There's been
Iraq.
Iraq, George W. Bush mentions. Like, this show's supposed to be family friendly, and you guys definitely are getting coal in your stockings this year.
Well, we
Erica,
don't hide
how's
from the
improv
truth.
going?
It's going well. It's virtual.
Look at that. A little inside dig there from Connie, and you can tell riled up Ricky Hollywood. All right. Ricky, you're right. You're right. We should have been more family friendly. We'll try again next year with our Christmas special.
Thank you.
For now, we just say goodbye and we close the book and get ready to celebrate the end of this bizarre year. This is Dan Hansa signing off for The Quiet Storm, The Old Boss, Ricky Hollywood, The Tiny Box. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. See you on the other side.